feeling generous and I have a few more minutes, Moni. So, give me one more question. Let's do one more question.
All right, let's see here.
RPG with dark medieval fantasy that always makes you want to go back, even if you have to start from anew. Keep dreaming. There's a bunch of new games coming. We'll have to wait and see, though. But I think there's a fuck ton of new games coming. Anyways, what do you have for me, bro?
All right, here we go. Awkward Lad asks, do you think that Bolvar, the Bolvar Lich King, was wasted post-Legion? With him barely up to anything before being humiliatedly defeated by Sylvanas and getting the helm ripped off and, made into the broken and creating the rift in the veil. Mm-hmm. Would you have kept him as our ally or as a pawn of Zuval? So basically he's asking, would you have Bolvar be sort of the Magni Bronzebeard of the Shadowlands, or an unknowing pawn, like sleeper agent of Zuval?
So I kind of liked the role that Bolvar played in Shadowlands. It was at least a link to the past of World of Warcraft. I would have loved it if they introduced more of Bolvar throughout the story leading up to it. So the Death Knights got a lot to do with Bolvar back in Legion. With almost the whole of Battle for Azeroth, Bolvar got a few mentions in short stories, but nothing in the game really. And then Bolvar came back. And for most players, while Bolvar is definitely a character, a symbol on Azeroth, for a lot of players, they never really got an opportunity to connect with Bolvar as the Lich King. And so, Bolvar wasn't necessarily the strongest choice, but I like the idea of it. You're using a known, right, as the anchor point to send people into the story of something that is completely unknown to us. The portions of Bolvar that became tedious and boring were all the fucking parts with Kalia Menethil and Talia Fordragon. Because it doesn't seem like Blizzard really knew what they wanted Talia and Kalia to be. Right? Like what their story was supposed to become in the Shadowlands, other than to just nag Bolvar for shit. Right? That's basically the only thing they did. They were just continuously nagging Bolvar to look into the maw. And even though Bolvar says it's dangerous because he can see me, Talia literally just got her father back. We're like, nah, fuck that, bro. Look. And it's like, yeah, but it's really dangerous. He can fucking see me. And she's like, yeah, who gives a shit? Fucking look, bro. I need my dick back. My king's gone. And I want to get dicked down by Anduin, so find him, you piece of shit, burned to a crisp fuckhead. And it's sort of like, would a daughter really react that way with her father? Like, maybe she really wants to get Anduin's dick back, but at the same time, it is her dad. She might show a little bit more care when her father tells her this is really dangerous and, the eye can look back and whatever. But, that's sort of the parts that I think it fell flat for me. It's not the Bolvar part. The Bolvar part was fine, in my opinion. I think Bolvar could have had a bigger part in the story, but this again goes to Blizzard's sort of... We've had this a few expansions now, but the costs are too big in World of Warcraft. It's going to sound silly, especially considering I'm watching videos about Warhammer and loving it. But let's take the Dark Imperium book that I'm reading now. The cost in that book is incredibly small. There are about, at least so far, and I'm more than halfway through the book, there are 4 main characters in the entirety of the book. There are people that they interact with, but these are incredibly minor characters, and mostly these characters are only used to move the story forward. They're not the main movers and shakers. World of Warcraft, at least the last few expansions, suffer from this. We're going to have multiple characters play the role of importance in the game. And you end up feeling no connection to any of those characters. Bolvar, in my opinion, should have been the only character in the Shadowlands with us. He should have been the one that we talk to, that we confide in. He should have been the one to send us on our missions and accompany us on our missions. He should have been our link to Azeroth in the truest sense of the word. They decided to go a completely different direction where he was the anchor in Oribos, but we would continuously meet other characters that would take us, on journeys and the like. And I feel like that may have been a missed opportunity there.
I think that what they should have done, I agree with that, is Bolvar should have been the anchor and the guide between Azeroth and the Shadowlands. Like he said himself that he spent all the time frozen in that on Icecrown Citadel, peering into the Shadowlands, trying to figure out what that voice in the back of his head from the helm that turned out to be the jailer, what the source of that was. And he peered into the other realms too.
Yes.
So they already had a character primed and ready to be basically a guide to the Shadowlands, reliable or unreliable, it doesn't matter. Like, he could have seen images of the other realms, and for all we know, they could have been tainted by the lens of how Zuval views them.
Yeah.
Like, he could have been looking into Maldraxxus and saw it as nothing but the infighting that it turned into the minute Zuval started throwing out some of his power to the other houses.
Yeah, it could have been a story of discovery and rediscovery.
Exactly.
I like that idea. I think that would have been so much cooler than Bolvar telling us, off you go, and then we meet up with all these random characters that take us through every zone that most people don't even remember their names of, except for Peligos, because Peligos somehow became the Arbiter. At the end of the day, I think there were a lot of missed opportunities just because Blizzard were desperately trying to introduce very important characters. Cesius, you bastard, thanks for the prime sub, really appreciate that, bro. 23 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate ya. That would be my answer to that. Yeah?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, introducing new characters, especially in a area that you hadn't expanded on yet, that needed its own mythos. And yes, by God, we want to see the Pantheon of Death. But the problem is the implementation with, like you said, they had a bloated cast. Can you tell me anything about the Eternal Ones that makes them interesting? Besides the fact that they're just reskins of the same being. Like, there is no Eternal One that has a personality that jumps out to me.
No, but their personalities could have been so much greater through the eyes of Bolvar. Right? Because he most likely at least saw their influence, even on Azeroth. So he would have prepared us, he would have told us what to watch out for, and then maybe we discover that what Bolvar saw is completely different to what is actually going on. It would have been more mysterious, it would have been more fun. But anyways, Shadowlands is over now. Dragonflight is next. Hopefully they learned, and hopefully they're not going to make that same fucking mistake again. Like, that is my biggest hope. Anyways, thanks for the question. I really appreciate that one.